my people? It's your one and only Iron Mike Steadman coming to you for another edition of Bunker Office Hours, a weekly live show brought to you by the team at Bunker Labs, a national network of veteran and military spouse entrepreneurs dedicated to helping our ecosystem start and grow their own businesses. Today, I'm joined by Michael Cinquino. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Me and Mike had a chance to chop it up last night for the Veterans and Residents cohort here in New York City, and lo and behold, we're on the day. And it was funny because when I was talking to your group last night, I was like, I think Mike and I are chopping it up tomorrow. So excited to have you on today, my man. But before we jump into what you've got going on, I got to go ahead and talk about what is going on in the bunker over the next couple weeks. So hold on a sec. My screen is loading here. Now, Mike, where are you dialing in from?
New York City, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, BK.
718.
All right, so activities taking place in the bunker. Veteran and residence applications are open through the month of September. You can check it out at bunkerlabs.org/VIR. Many of you know Veterans and Residents is one of our flagship programs. I'm a VIR alumni, have nothing but positive things to say. This is a great way to get into the ecosystem and start to work on your businesses with the support of Bunker Labs and WeWork. We've got a new blog article that's posting for Hispanic-owned businesses, where we're featuring Hispanic-owned businesses in honor of National Hispanic Heritage Month. We've compiled some of our favorite podcast interviews from the transition for our Latinx entrepreneurs. You can check that out in the blog post in the chat. And then lastly, Breaking Bears and Entrepreneurship Workshop application deadline for October 4th has been extended through the end of September. This 8-week online workshop is especially for female, Black, Latinx, and Asian entrepreneurs. I would encourage y'all to apply today. Renee Bob runs an excellent program. It's another program I've had a chance to participate in, teaching marketing and branding. And again, find your community, find your tribe. It's a great way to get plugged in. So I encourage you all to apply today. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome my man, Mike, to the platform. So Mike, please introduce yourself to everyone. Let them know what you've got going on at Soho Creative Studio. And by the way, when I saw Soho, I was thinking money. I'm like, damn, Soho, for people in New York City, man, that's upscale.
Let's start there. So I'm Michael Cinquino. I'm one of the co-founders of Soho Creative Studio. And Soho Creative Studio, Mike, we got something in common, man, because when the pandemic happened, we had to pivot. Soho Creative Studio was originally a studio rental space in Soho that I owned. It was my previous business. I'm a professional photographer, videographer, and I had that space in Soho, and the pandemic happened. And as you know, we just weren't allowed to operate. So we were kind of driven into our apartment, and we had to reimagine things. And what we reimagined, what we came up with, is the current iteration of Soho Creative Studio, which is helping people get over camera shyness, specifically business owners, to learn how to use the camera as a tool to build relationships and generate sales.
How hard was it making that pivot during the pandemic?
Well, it ain't over yet.
It
was challenging, man. I'm gonna be honest. It was very difficult because you know how business is. Business is hard enough when the game board's not moving, right? So with the pandemic and restrictions and different states doing different things in different times and different days, it was just hard to know which way to kind of point ourselves in because things were changing kind of week to week. So it was challenging, but on a positive note, it taught us to be agile and adaptable. Ever adaptable and never just assume things are going to be the status quo. So there's always a part of me that's looking ahead to be like, okay, things are going to change. How can we change with them? It was a big takeaway.
So you and I actually do have a lot in common, right? So I was a midshipman. So technically I was in the Navy for a little bit while I was at the Naval Academy, but I know you were a rescue swimmer. And then I saw on your profile too that you went to Rutgers. I actually got my master's from Rutgers as well. So like I said, man, and we're both working in media.
Yep, I saw on your LinkedIn, I was like, you went to Rutgers, Naval Academy guy, we got a lot in common.
So tell us about the pivot into video production.
Yeah, it's an on pivot, interestingly. We don't do really video production. We don't do commercials. We don't do massive video production. What we really focus on is helping business owners get in front of the camera and get visible. It's one of those things that, all those things that we know we should do but don't want to do. So it's really about me helping those business owners get on camera, share their story, and leverage video in whatever way is appropriate for them to build relationships. And actually, we're not really big on pumping out tons of videos on social media. I know that might sound odd, but we're really more into helping business owners send targeted videos to maybe potential clients, to use the Zoom platform to prospect, and so on and so forth.
Have you seen I mean, I know you have, but talk to our viewers about the shift in video. You're seeing a lot of content coming around about leveraging video on all the different platforms. Obviously, TikTok is big. LinkedIn video is big. And so sometimes it can seem a little bit overwhelming for people, but because given everything that we're already doing and running our businesses, but I feel like it's getting beat over our head over and over again. You can win with video.
You can. I always like to tell a little story. I say, who here has heard of The Godfather, the film The Godfather? Usually everybody says yes, right? Then I ask, who's heard of Marlon Brando? And usually everybody in the audience has heard of Marlon Brando. And then I say, who could tell me who Gordon Willis is? And the room usually goes silent. And the reason for that is Gordon Willis was the cinematographer. He was behind the camera. Okay? He was a renowned cinematographer. If you're in the industry, you know who Gordon Willis is. But because he was behind the camera, we can't relate to him. We don't know who he is. Is he less talented than Brando? Absolutely not. He's a genius.
Mike, I got to stop you for 1 second.
Yeah.
Your audio's giving me that crispy, whatever sound.
Let me switch, getting some audio feedback. Let me switch audio sources here. It's so funny that this
apologize about that, y'all. Look, this is what happens with technology. It never works like you're supposed to. Even when I'm doing my podcast, sometimes I got to
rotate. How about this?
There you go.
Is this better?
That's
okay.
Better.
All right, cool. But I was saying that if you're not visible on camera, people can't connect with you. One of the things you can do as a business owner is just do a simple 1 minute, this is why I do this. That's it. You don't have to crank out 700 videos on TikTok. If someone comes to your website and Mike's there, in a video and says, hey, this is why I started my business. This is why I'm passionate about what I do. This is how we can help. Just doing that is up here compared to what most business owners are doing. And don't take my word for it. Do a test. Just go to websites. How many founders, how many business owners are on the website just talking a little bit about why they do what they do and who they serve? You're going to find that very few are out there. That's good news for us as business owners, because all you got to do is get something up there and you're already standing out.
What do you feel like the biggest mistake entrepreneurs are making with regards to doing videos for the first time for self-promotion?
The biggest mistake is that we think it's about us. And as business owners, right, when we become passionate about our client, our customer, serving them, not our business, not what we're doing, but the moment you shift your attention from yourself to who you're trying to connect with, and you make it all about them, that's when the magic happens. I'm a conservatory trained actor, so I got like doctor's length of educational degrees in acting. And it never fails. We as actors, when we surrender to that other person in the scene and we let go to them, that's when the real magical stuff happens. But I understand when we get in front of one of these cameras, it has a tendency to drive our attention inwards and make us self-conscious. Self-conscious people are very difficult to connect with. People that are surrendering to another person are very easy to connect with and tend to do a lot better.
So I'm gonna get vulnerable, and I think a lot of our viewers can relate. I think for us as veterans, right, like we're kind of like the anti-self-promotion people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Particularly, like, I don't know about the Army, y'all like to have all the stuff on your uniforms and everything. But for the Marines, for the most part, like when we're in our fatigues, right, it's just name tag Marine. It's very simple. But then you become an entrepreneur, right? And you're in the civilian world, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, and it's all about self-promotion, right?
Yeah.
People love, we got to get our headshots, right? We got to have all that stuff. And it can feel uncomfortable. And I've even noted with my clients when I'm launching their podcast, I almost have to I got to baby step them through the process because they're so self-conscious about how they're going to be perceived by our peers, right? I don't even think they're worried about the civilian peers. I think they're worried about their fellow veteran and military spouse peers. Are going to be like, oh, look at Mike up there, posting TikTok videos, or who does he think he is, Gary V? And so how do you encourage people to push past that and be vulnerable?
Oh, man. Okay. So this is it's funny that you said that. This is a sensitive place for me as well. I'm gonna be totally honest. The people that I, for a while, admired most, the people that I looked up to were the people that were unapologetically who they are. Not jerks, but just people that didn't apologize for their presence or promotion. And I looked up to them, and and in a way, and then I envied them. And I said exactly the same thing you said. Well, who does this guy think he is walking in a room with that much confidence?
Right.
Right? And it's like, who's he? Like with that, it's like, well, he's doing a lot better than I am, it seems. Okay. So I will say this. I've been out of Rutgers since 2005. Some of my colleagues at the time have gone on to be Marvel superheroes, literally. And there was a gentleman in my class. I won't name him, but there's a 3-year program. Okay, and he got thrown out after the second year. Now this dude paid for 2 years of education. Okay, and between second and third year, the guy in charge said, "Nah, you're not Mason Gross worthy. You're out of here." Okay, that guy has worked more than everyone in my class put together. Why? Because he never undermined himself. So I will say this to everyone: those who have done the best as actors in anything are the ones that have undermined themselves the least. And I will also say this: there's nothing more selfish one can do than to play small. And my mantra is be not content with littleness. Because when you open it up and you come fully as you are, which is your birthright, other people are going to do that too. And the world is a better place when we're all feeling, that we can be who we really are. There are going to be people that are like, who's this guy? But that's their stuff, not yours. I'll say one more thing, Mike. Business owner, people do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? Right? You can't control like or trust. You can't. No matter what you do, you can't. There are going to be people that hate you, no matter how great a person you are. So I say to anyone out there, you just have to let that stuff go. Keep your intentions clean. If you know that your intentions are pure and you're out there to help people, play as big as possible. And there's going to be people that don't love it, but the alternative is just to play small. And my book recommendation is around this as well, actually.
Yeah, there is a lot of people playing small, man. It's like funny we're having this conversation because I'm leveling up myself these days, doing more business coaching outside of the work I do with Ironbound Media. And that's forcing me to step into a space where like you are really selling yourself, and so I'm curious to learn from you as you coach, entrepreneurs to leverage video. Like, what is your content philosophy? So like on one end of the extreme, you got Gary Vee, who's like, make 100 videos a day, post them on TikTok, Instagram, and you're everywhere. But you said like, hey, you're not necessarily about that.
I'm not, and nothing against Gary. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. So one tactic is to be ubiquitous, is to continue to crank stuff out. I don't like that approach, because I don't feel that it's sustainable, and it's exhausting to have to do a video every single day. Okay, there's somebody that I actually love, Marie Forleo. Marie was someone, if you want to look her up, Marie leveraged the camera long before the pandemic. Marie Forleo. Marie would do one video a week. That's it. She had a mailing list, which was quite large, but she built her audience on one single video a week, and it was a darn good video. So she created with intention. My suggestion for business owners is find groups that are on Zoom that could be relational referrals, meaning like, if you're a painter, maybe you're hanging out in a realtors group, right? Or a contractors group, getting them to get to know you, just hanging out in there, being like, hey, I'm Michael, I do video, not trying to sell anything. But that's one way to do it tactically, to really get in the pond there. Another way I mentioned is to have video on your website. Reels are great, but I'll say this about all the social media: nobody knows what the algorithm is. It's a mystery. I got reels that had 15,000 views. I got 20 views. I put the same exact reel on TikTok as Instagram. Completely different. So there's just no rhyme or reason to it. But I will say that with social media, posting once a week, a video a week is great. Okay, and it gives people a point of reference. Like some of you might go on my Instagram, Michael Cinquino, at Michael Cinquino, and go check me out a little bit more. I think quality will always beat quantity. I'll switch my audio again. Let's see here.
I think China has infiltrated our audio. They're trying to throw it off because they don't want our entrepreneurs, being awesome.
How's
All right,
this?
is that better? It's
Is
great.
this better? Okay, I'll just go back and forth.
So, okay, so content, we're doing video. All right, how long should our video be? And here's why I'm gonna tell you. Okay? I do podcasts, and people are always like, you need to do video podcasts, but I have an audio first bias because when I think about myself, right, like I don't watch a lot of long videos. You know, I might have it playing in the background. When you talk to people, it's like we do all this video content, but how much time are people actually spending on video, right?
Mm.
So I'm curious from you of like, okay, what is the good length for like an instructional video for a CEO?
Well, I always say the shorter the better. The quicker you can get your message across on video, the better. I used to kind of curse Instagram's Reels like limit on like a minute 30, but I'm like, no, that's a good challenge, Michael. Get your message across in a minute 30. So every bit of research that I've done is short form video, very short video bursts is what is going to do very well and what continues to do very well. However, there are exceptions to every rule because if you look at Joe Rogan, he started off as audio, but he does this long form video now. So that actually works very well. But I would say just starting out, just short how to add value or entertaining. Your videos want to be one of a couple things. They either want to be entertaining or helpful or both, right? It can either be like, hey, here, use this microphone, or something entertaining, and there's no right or wrong. But shorter the better. Shorter the better.
And what about equipment, right? So obviously you got Soho Studio, you got the Canon, or what camera do you have?
I'm using the 70D, and just maybe I'll just show people what a difference like a decent camera makes. I'm gonna let, oh god, my partner would kill me right now if she saw what I'm about to do, but I'm gonna do it. There we go. Let's see if that was, yeah. So this is the webcam.
Oh, wow, yeah.
This is terrible. I'm a professional photographer. I can't live like this. This is blown out here and awful. So I use a DSLR as a webcam and a software called Cascable Pro Webcam that allows me to stream from it. So there's that. I'll say another thing. I'm like even more than an arm's length away from the screen, which is healthier. Okay, so I'm not right on top of the screen like I would be a laptop because I do spend a lot of time on this. Lighting matters. You know, I have one ring light up here and just shutting that off. Good. Gross. Right?
See, he's got all the hacks, y'all. There's a way to kind of level up and do good video, but I think one of the things is the majority of people tuning in this platform are just getting started out in an entrepreneurial journey. Cash flow is real, right? So how can they create good content on a budget, right?
Yeah.
They just use their iPhones. I mean, what do you encourage people to do to get started?
Well, I got to pitch this. I did a whole course on what you just asked. It's $30. It's on Udemy. I think we're going to share the link. Window light. Okay, so just on a budget, right? Window light is fantastic. Just make sure for lighting, your window is not facing direct sunlight. That's usually north in the northern hemisphere. So, north. You're usually good to go. You don't want direct sunlight, so you can use a window for light. Okay, there's that. There's a very inexpensive software out there. It's in my course. It's called Eyeglasses. Eyeglasses software. I think it's like $20 or something like that. And what it allows you to do is to control the exposure on the webcam. So you don't got to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on camera. You can use the Eyeglasses software, okay? And you can tone down the exposure. So if the light is bright that day, webcams don't do a great job of exposing properly. Eyeglasses software, $25. We've been having audio problems, but $30. This is not a $30 microphone, but a microphone is hugely helpful. I got to ask one question. I want to ask it before we get off. I was looking. I saw you're a boxer, and is it true, as Morgan Freeman's character says in $1 Million Baby, that boxing is an unnatural act?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, he says boxing is an unnatural act. Everything is backwards. You want to move left. You don't step left. You push with your right toe. You don't run away from the pain like a sane person. You run towards it. This is an unnatural act. Right? Video conferencing videos an unnatural act. What you can do as an entrepreneur is to pull the things out of it that make it unnatural. Get some better lighting. Get a microphone so people can hear you a little bit better. Be intentional with your background and so on and so forth. Make sure there's some light in your eyes. You see that there's like these little catch lights? This is much better, of course, than not having anything in your eyes. So when you line those things up and you don't have to spend a lot of money, use your window, get that software to tweak it, spend $30 on a microphone. As an entrepreneur, you've spent under $100, you've totally upped your game, and audiences only recognize change. So that means that like in a big Zoom room, if they can hear you well and see you well, you're usually doing a lot better than most. Not because people want to look or sound bad, just because they don't know this stuff.
What about captions? So you see a lot of videos, they've got the captions in it. How important is that for viewability or clickability? Maybe I just made up a word. I don't know.
Very important. I've got an app. It's called Captions. You can download it on the App Store. Captions are very important because it's my understanding that a lot of people are watching videos sometimes at work and they don't have the sound on. So and on certain browsers, if I'm not mistaken, the sound will not come on. It's illegal. You have to click it on. So I would say add captions to your video whenever possible. I love the Captions app. I think you can do up to 4 minutes on this app. But it's genius because you just load the video in, it does auto captions, you see them, you can make some adjustments, you can do cool little visuals with them, but captions are important.
Roger that. While Mike switches his audio again, because it's getting a little buggy, drop any questions you have in the chat regarding video. This is one of the, we've only had a few video experts come on, so I really want to encourage you all out there that are interested in using video. Please go ahead and drop your questions for Mike. In the meantime, Mike, what's that book recommendation?
The book recommendation, I'll say this about this book. I've never recommended a book that I haven't completely finished yet, but I'm recommending this book. The book is called The Myth of Normal. I'm about 1/3 through. It's by a gentleman named Gabor Mate. He's a medical doctor. He wrote another book, I believe, that was called In the Presence of Hungry Ghosts, about addiction. But the thing that's blowing me away about this book, Mike, is that he studies illness and sickness, and serious illness in many cases. And what he has found, that there is a link between disease and inauthenticity. And the less authentic we are, the more we tend towards disease as human beings, which completely blew my mind. And he shatters a lot of myths. And he says there's this pull between being authentic and being attractive or accepted. And a lot of times we're asked to sacrifice our authenticity in the name of being accepted. And he gives some really great examples. So that's a book I recommend, and it's very resonant for me right now.
Well, I went to I did a leadership conference with one of my clients called Next Jump, where I used to teach boxing to the CEOs. And one of the things they taught us was that 50%, I think it may have been more, it might have been like 60% of people spend their time at work lying, hiding, and faking. So they are not their authentic self. And so they gave us this baseball, and it's like no LHF, no lying, hiding, and faking. So I keep it on my shelf back here, right? And that's also my kind of personality. Is why you see me wear my Nordcat and my beard and my Iron Man, because I'm not much of a bud down, name tag kind of guy. But you're right. It can be hard for us to step into our authentic self, especially when we think the world wants us to be one thing, but deep down we know inside, like that's like a round peg into a square hole. We're never going to fit that way. Now, Michael Persinger wants to know, if I'm using a phone to record myself, what's the best angle to film at?
Oh, what a great question, man. So if this is can you see this? If this is my phone, right above eye level like that. Not too high, not too low. And remember that the closer something is to the camera, the bigger. So if there's a very wide angle lens on the camera, you don't want to do that because it's going to distort your face. So really just right above eye level right here. Not too high and certainly not low. So just right at your eyebrows is an ideal place to place camera placement. It's where my camera's placed right now. Great question.
And Frank Valley wants to know, any recommendations on an affordable cameras or setups?
Logitech has a great one. I can't think of it offhand. It is in my course. I give 3 recommendations in the course about webcams, kind of a best, mid, and then lower range. But I would say, Frankie, start with the eyeglasses software because it is such a low level of investment. Start with that, because also another thing is if you do travel and move around, it's another piece you got to take with you, and then another piece you got to take with you. So I'd start with eyeglasses.
Yeah. Michael wants to know, so frame up on the thirds, middle, or off to one side?
Great question. So I go dead center, and it depends on like what you're doing with graphics. But I put myself dead center, and for the rule of thirds, I make sure that my eyes are above that upper third. So if y'all know the rule of thirds, you divide a frame into like quarters like this. This this top here, you want your eyes to live above that, not down here. This kind of looks weird, right? I look
Yeah.
not as powerful. Right? We want to be here. Is having a backdrop a good idea? I would say be intentional with your backdrop. This is a collapsible backdrop that comes down into a circle that's about yay big. I like using this because I can give myself a consistent look wherever I am. For those of us that travel, I can take this with me. I throw it in the car. But you don't have to have, this is not AI, this is actually real. I'd say just be intentional with what's behind you. Avoid light behind you. That's a big mistake. I hate saying the word mistake, but it's kind of true. Like light behind you will really mess with the exposure on the camera. So have a window in front of you, but try not to have a window behind you.
How's my backdrop? Set up
I
here?
like it, man, because you're splitting the screen. You're in an environment. I see you're in your space. I think this works very well.
Hey, in a few weeks, y'all, that book up there, Third Shift Entrepreneur, it's gonna drop one. I'm gonna have Black Veteran Entrepreneur up there. That's what I'm excited about. Got my little boxing gloves and everything. So, Mike, as we wrap up here, tell people where they can find you. How can they support your courses, and what else we can do to elevate the work you're doing.
Yeah, the course is at sohocreativestudio.com/learn. I did some hard work on this course. The first half of the course is technical. So I talk about lighting, sound, internet connection, using the platform, stuff like that. So it's a fast way to upgrade it. It's like a 90-minute course. The second part of the course talks a little bit more about presenting. How to have more confidence on camera, how to communicate with your audience, how to use slides if you have to do a slide presentation. I'm really proud of the course. People seem to be enjoying it. The link is right up there. So that's one way. On Instagram, you can find me at Michael Cinquino, all one word, and Soho Creative Studio. So sohocreativestudio.com and those two Instagram channels. And LinkedIn as well. So I post videos weekly to LinkedIn. Weekly to Instagram, and the website, if you want to refer me or you want to learn about the course, that's the best place to do that.
And who's your perfect customer in terms of a client for video strategy?
My perfect customer, very thankfully, are small business owners that have really great business models that are doing well, that know their current marketing tactics and current client-facing materials are not where they need to be. So there's a misalignment between how good they are in their business and when you roll up on their website and see that, or a small business owner who hasn't used video at all yet for whatever reason, in any form. And there are a lot of them out there.
Love it. Well, Mike, man, we're excited to have you in the ecosystem. Again, it was great chopping you up with you and your cohort last night. For everyone that's tuning in, be sure to check out sohocreativestudio.com/learn. Take advantage of this great course, and take advantage of this knowledge that he's bringing into the Bunker Labs community. Now, for everyone tuning in, I only got 2 minutes, so I got to sprint. All right. I need you to pull out your phone right now and subscribe to the Transition Podcast on iTunes. Brownie points if you leave us a 5-star review. This is not my podcast. This is your podcast. We do our best to bring actionable tips and advice and stories to support you all on your entrepreneurial journeys, right? There's a lot of hype out there. There's a lot of fluff. We're anti-fluff on the Transition Podcast. I've done some great ecosystem mapping. We've got some great content for y'all. So make sure you check out the Transition Podcast. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. Also send out a newsletter. I do my best to get it out at least once a week, sharing the latest episode of the Transition as well, or some other tips and advice that I come across to provide value to the community. I'd like to acknowledge our virtual event sponsor for today, MetLife Foundation, and their commitment to supporting veteran and military spouses transitioning into the workforce, as well as entrepreneurs. We could not do this without the support of MetLife Foundation, both office hours and the Transition Podcast. Make sure y'all are plugged into the Bunker Labs ecosystem by heading to bunkerlabs.org. We got programs that'll take you from idea to invoice, incubate you, and position you to grow alongside other founders and CEOs. As always, we really appreciate y'all for tuning in to this week's Office Hours. Until next time, everyone, peace, love, and have a great rest of your week.